All right, my man. 40-team playoff. Where do you weigh in?
40-team playoff.
40-team playoff. We're going to go out of context before we go into context.
Since Coach Rhule said it, I'm going to have to agree with it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I back you, Coach Rhule. I'm right there with you. I stand with you.
All right.
No, come on. Come on. Right? So what are we doing? What are we doing?
For someone who may not know what we're talking about, Matt Rhule did an interview recently with Sean Callahan. Steve Sipple did a great job. Talked about the expanding playoff and going to 16 teams and rules all forward, basically saying, yeah, let more teams in. And then he jokes. He goes, hey, let's just go ahead and put 40 in. And when you hear it and you see his body language and you hear the tone, it's clearly a joke. Okay. Now, every good joke has a little bit of truth in it or it's not funny. But every good joke doesn't have too much truth in it or it's also not funny. Do I think Matt Rhule would actually be okay with a 40-team playoff? I actually do. But that's not how he wasn't sitting here pounding the table saying, I want a 40-team playoff. He was saying the more spots, the more opportunities for Nebraska because he's Nebraska's head football coach to get in. Now, a lot of people took this as, Nebraska can't get in unless there's 40 teams, and this is the only way it can happen. And things were taken out of context. And like when you see something in print, you can't hear the tone with which it was said. You don't get the jive of the conversation. You don't get to be able to see the body language or the facial expression. If you go watch the clip, it's pretty obvious. He's having fun with it. Again, I don't think he would object to it probably, but that's not what he really said. It was more in jest. And so when I first started doing the Carriker Chronicles almost 11 years ago, it was articles. I don't know if most people remember that. It's been a show for almost 10 years, but it was articles, which I enjoyed doing. But you know what the most difficult thing for me was with articles? Tone.
Yeah.
It was tone. Because 3 people can get the same text or 3 people can read the same thing in that little voice in your head. 3 people can come away with 3 completely different tones in their head with how they read whatever's been written. So tone was the thing I would spend by far the most amount of time on.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I enjoy about a show. When you actually watch the clip, you can hear the tone. You can see the body language. You can get the whole vibe behind it, not have to try to figure it out in your head from words on paper. So it's a little bit misleading there. But what are your thoughts on this? And it's hard because some people, in fairness, were like, clickbait. Well, when you're writing an article, you'd prefer if people read it. If you have a show, you would prefer that people read it. The innuendo behind clickbait is you're only doing it to get attention. When you're doing something with content behind it or for content, you hope people are interested. But there's a difference between putting out an honest opinion, hoping people are interested, doing the best you can, giving your honest opinion, and just selling out just to get as many clicks as you can. There's 2 completely different things. But what was your take on this?
My first wonder was, has this tweet and post reached Paul Feinbaum's desk? Because I'm very curious. I want to know what he has to say. No, I'm kidding.
I haven't heard him say anything, but that would be an interesting reaction.
I would love to see the way he reacts to Matt Rhule joking around because we all know how he feels about Matt Rhule. So, but no.
How dare the Big Ten want 4 teams in the playoffs?
Yeah, how dare.
Oh, wait, what happened there? Ooh. Paul Feinbaum did later apologize after the playoffs last year. Go ahead.
Yeah, he did fall back in it. But anyways, he's just joking around. I saw a great post yesterday. It said Matt Rhule is the most misunderstood head coach in college football because he says things that everybody else is thinking and then gets hate for it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense. He said the stuff about the SEC and the Big Ten. He's commented on a lot of things. Like, he was one of the first ones to bring up the spring game format, and then a bunch of schools followed the exact same way. But he also got hate for it. I don't get it. I don't understand why people like to hate him. He's a he's just a great guy outside of being a head coach. He doesn't deserve any of the hate that he gets. Yeah, it just goes back to the tone. Like, listen to the video. He is very obviously kidding. It's not like it was like, oh, why'd you say that? Why do you think that? He was kidding. He was totally kidding. So that's my thoughts.
So you make an interesting point because what Matt Rhule says tends to garner headlines across the country. As much, I don't want to say more, but as much as any other coach out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's why I think that is. I think it is because a lot of times I do think he's ahead of the curve. Your point with the spring game format and your point with a lot of things that he says, he tends to be the first one to actually say it and or actually do it. And so people have to absorb it at first. If you're the 5th guy to say it, it's not going to catch the attention. He doesn't mind being first. I don't mind being first to say things. Okay. So I think that's part of it. I think part of it is he will say things that maybe other coaches wouldn't. He's just more upfront, open, and honest. I'm not saying coaches are dishonest, but you don't have to say everything unless that's something you wish to say. And he doesn't mind saying those things. So he tends to be first. Okay. At least at times. He doesn't mind being upfront, open, and honest, where maybe not every coach would feel comfortable with that. I do think the Nebraska brand still catches people's attention. You can say, oh, you're stuck in the 90s and you're stuck in this and you're stuck in that. Did you notice when we were 2-0 and we mollywopped Colorado, how many national people were talking about Nebraska?
The amount of people that were even at that game in Lincoln, like people that didn't even realize knew Nebraska existed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking down there. I see Derek White, who I found out later with Colorado, but I also see Mark Williams as well, like just like NBA players in the middle of Lincoln. You know, I'm a Florida kid, so this is to me, take this lightly. Take this lightly. This is the middle of nowhere to a Florida kid.
I get it.
To like,
how dare you? Go ahead.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
No, but like people, when I tell them I live in Lincoln, they're like, where is that? I'm like, go to the map, throw a dart to the center of the country. That's where it is. That's it. But yeah. So I don't understand. Nebraska garners all this attention. We still are very nationally relevant. I was definitely still considered to be a blue blood.
So when they...
So I don't get it. I don't know.
So online, when people are like, who are the blue bloods in college football? It's consistently the same 8 schools.
Absolutely.
It's like Oklahoma, Texas, Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, Nebraska, USC, Alabama. Like those are the 8. And there's maybe some others that are knocking on the door, so to speak. Okay, Penn State's always kind of been knocking on the door. Georgia's, but it's typically those 8. And Nebraska's still included in there.
The people are like, why is Nebraska included? It's always people like my age, too. Then I'm always like, come on, guys.
So Nebraska, despite what people say, is still a national relevant brand. And I'm telling you right now, national pundits would love if Nebraska started competing at a championship level again, because the instant there's any hint of us being good, they're all over it.
It's great for college football.
The instant that we lost a few games last year, I couldn't help but notice they disappeared. The reason they like it is because we're a big brand. It's good for college football. Husker Nation might be the most engaged college football fan base in the country.
By far.
And I think that I can say that, and it's a true statement, and I don't have to hesitate about saying it because it is true without a doubt.
I always tell people.
And it garners attention.
Exactly. I always tell people in Lincoln, in Nebraska, there's no professional on a high level. We have, we have our volleyball teams.
Now there's volleyball
I'm going to give them their flowers. We have our volleyball teams.
Yes,
but there's no NBA, there's no MLB. There is no professional football. UNL, the Nebraska Cornhuskers football team, that is what they have in terms of their big, high-profile team. So it's just going to be bigger as a school than what you would assume it to be.
And we were so good for so long, and hopefully we can get back there sooner rather than later, at least just competing at a high level again. That doesn't just disappear. Over 40 years, we won 9 games or more. No school's ever done that. We have the second most amount of conference championships of any college football program in history. Number 1 is Oklahoma. Number 2 is Nebraska. It's one of the reasons that Oklahoma-Nebraska rivalry, gosh, I wish it was still going on, or at least it happened more often. But here's the 4th reason. Matt Rhule doesn't hesitate to be first. He doesn't hesitate to be honest. Nebraska is still a big brand that national pundits will immediately hop on because they know they're going to get attention. Here's the other one. We haven't won a lot lately, so it's an easy punching bag. You're stuck in the 90s. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not stuck in the 90s. I remember the 90s. I will always revere the 90s. But it's 2025. Just because I love Nebraska and I watched that era and I was fans of those guys growing up and I'm friends with a lot of them now doesn't mean I'm stuck there. Okay? It's an easy punching bag because we have not, I'm just going to be honest, we have not performed at the level that we have liked for far too long. And it's like, it's easy for other fans to mock and say negative things, and then that garners attention. They know they're going to get a reaction is the biggest thing.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, any final thoughts before we get out of here? And then we discuss NFL flag football.
Just Matt Rhule, watch what you say. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm right there with him.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.